Tajjatim manurundhataha athanyadapi Krishnasya Stoka charitam Manusham lokamasadya Tajjatim manurundhataha Athanyadapi Krishnasya Stoka charitam Manusham lokamasadya Tajjati manurundhataha Athanyadapi Krishnasya Stoka charitam Manusham lokamasadya Dhataha Athanyamanuchintasya Stoka charitam Manusham lokamasadya Madhyatim manurundhataha Atha also Anyat api other pastimes also Krishnasya of child Krishna Stoka acharitam adbhutam they are also wonderful childhood pastimes. Manusham, as if playing as a human child. Lokam asadya, appearing on this planet Earth in human society. Tat jatim, exactly like a human child. Anurundhataha, who was imitating. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Please describe other pastimes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality, who appeared on this planet Earth, imitating a human child and performing wonderful activities like killing Putana. Please repeat this translation after me. Please describe other pastimes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality, who appeared on this planet Earth, imitating a human child and performing wonderful activities like killing Putana. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Parikshit requested Shukadev Goswami to narrate other childhood pastimes exhibited by Krishna while playing as a human child. The Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnates at different times in different planets and universes. And according to the nature of those places, He exhibits His unlimited potency. That a child sitting on the lap of his mother was able to kill the gigantic Putana is extremely wonderful for the inhabitants of this planet. But On other planets, the inhabitants are more advanced, and therefore, pastimes the Lord performs there, in the other planets, are still more wonderful. Krishna's appearance on this planet, like a human being, makes us more fortunate than the demigods in the higher planets. And therefore, Maharaj Parikshit was very much interested in hearing about him. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Prabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham mande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Yat kripatamaham mande Paramananda Madhavam Yat kripatamaham mande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. When we offer respects to Prabhupada, we chant his pranam mantra. The second pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada is Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. The meaning of this second pranam mantra we offer to Srila Prabhupada is Namaste Saraswate Deve. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the servant or the disciple of Saraswati Goswami. His full name is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. That's Prabhupada's Guru's name. Saraswati, that is a title that is given to Prabhupada's Guru, because he was a very, very, very learned scholar. So he got the title Saraswati. So his initiated name was Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. He was a sannyasi, Goswami, Thakur. He is a very exalted Vaishnava personality, so he's called Thakur. So Prabhupada is the disciple, Saraswate Deve. He's the disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. And Gauravani Pracharine. Prabhupada is preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya, Gauravani, the teachings of the message of Lord Chaitanya. Pracharine, he is preaching. Especially Prabhupada is preaching in the Western countries, Paschatya Desha. Nirvishesha, what are the characteristics of these Western countries? Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha. the Western countries are filled with Nirvishesha, Shunyavada. Nirvisheshvada and Shunyavada. Impersonalism and voidism. Two great philosophies in this world in recent times. No, it's been always there. It's not in recent times. Such places, Prabhupada has traveled, and he is delivering the people belonging to these places, Tarine. He is helping them to cross over material existence by instructing them, by preaching to them, by teaching them Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhupada is teaching us the philosophy, the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam, the speciality is, as compared to other scriptures, Vedic scriptures, that it presents the absolute truth in his personal feature as Krishna. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest work of Srila Vyasadeva, that he presents the understanding of the absolute truth, Param Satya, God, Supreme Personality of Godhead, personality, in his personal feature. So because the Vedas contain the subject matter of God in three features: the impersonal feature, Brahman feature, the Paramatma feature, or the feature of the absolute truth as the super soul who is present in everyone's heart and who has entered into every atom, into every planet, into every universe, and into the entire material energy in his form as Vishnu. Vishnu. Vishnu means one who enters, one of the meanings of the word Vishnu. Why is the Supreme Lord in this material world called as Vishnu? Because he enters. Where all does he enter? Everywhere he enters. At the beginning of the creation, he enters into the material energy. And then he enters into each universe. Then he enters into each planet. Then he enters into the heart of every created living being. And then he enters into every atom of matter. So the name Vishnu is very, very significant. Vishnu. So, his entering into our heart as Paramatma particularly is the second aspect of the absolute truth. He is called as Paramatma, seated in our heart, everyone's heart, every living being's heart, as the constant companion of each one of us through our life in this lives, not life alone, not this life alone, always, all lives in this material world. Paramatma feature, super soul. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Upadrushta anumanta bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purusha paraha. Which is the chapter? This verse I have quoted. Huh? Not sure. 13th chapter. 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is described as Paramatma, who is seated in everyone's heart as Upadrushta. He is the witness, he is the observer of all our activities. Anumanta, he is the sanctioner of any activity that we like to do, we want to do. He is the sanctioner. Bharta, he is the maintainer. Bhokta, he is the enjoyer. Maheshwaraha, he is the supreme Ishvara, supreme controller. Supreme controller. Paramatma iti cha api ukto, he is also called as Paramatma. Because even though he is a spiritual being and we are all spiritual beings, the two of us are distinguished by this term called Paramatma and Atma. Krishna is Paramatma, I am Atma. So both are spiritual beings, both are spirit. But Krishna is Supreme Spirit. And each one of us, we are his spirit soul, tiny spirit. So more precisely in the Bhagavad Gita, Anu Atma, Vibhu Atma. Anu means atomic in size. Even though as Paramatma, he is smaller than the atomic soul, because he is entered into the heart of this atomic soul. Atom itself, as a spiritual atom, is smaller than the material atom. And inside that spiritual atom, which each one of us is, we got a spiritual form. And in that spiritual form, there is a spiritual heart. Just like in this material form, there is a material heart. Similarly, in the spiritual form, there is a spiritual heart. And into that spiritual heart, Krishna as Paramatma enters. Paramatme iti chapyukto dehesmin, in this body, Purushaha. He is the supreme personality called Purusha. In his incarnation as Vishnu, he is called Purusha. Purusha means he is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme person, the supreme controller. Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. He is the transcendental enjoyer within this body as Paramatma. We are also the enjoyers in this body. We try to enjoy through our senses, through our mind, through our false ego. We try to enjoy. But we are subordinate enjoyers, because our enjoyment is possible only if sanctioned by the Lord. Anumanta, only if he sanctions. Like we desire to eat. Only if he sanctions my desire for eating, I can eat. Very simple. I have a plate of prasadam in front of me, I have a plate of food. I pick up with my fingers or the spoon and I try to put it in my mouth, very excited about something I like to eat I've got with me. And then I just try to put it in the mouth, it falls down. It's not something I can pick up if it falls down. So, gone. I had a desire to eat. I got the item I wanted to eat on my plate. I picked it up with my hands. Before I put it in my mouth, it's gone. So how is it that it fell down? Oh, you are careless. You don't properly pick up things. No, you might have been careless, or you might not have been careless at all. You might have been very, very nicely, picking up properly with your fingers and properly putting in your hand. And you've done it many, many times. Nothing new. But still, somehow it fell down. So, the ultimate cause of everything is Krishna. And therefore, unless He sanctions that I can eat what I wanted to eat and what I secured and try to eat, unless He sanctions, I cannot eat. And so many ways His sanction works or does not, His sanction or His not sanctioning works. I may eat, but something happens, it gets stuck in my throat, and I have to actually get it out of my throat and spit it out. Or I somehow manage to ingest the food through the throat. It goes into my stomach. And there is vomiting. And I vomit the whole thing. So unless there is sanction by Paramatma, we cannot do anything. We cannot eat. We cannot sleep. We cannot see, we cannot enjoy. So we are Purusha, but we are Adhama Purusha. There are three categories of Purushas in this material creation. Adhama Purusha are the living entities who are enjoyers, but they're the lowest grade of enjoyers, lowest category of enjoyers, insignificant enjoyers. And then Madhyama Purusha is the Supreme Lord as enjoyer in His feature as Paramatma. He is also enjoyer. But His enjoyment is Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. He is the transcendental enjoyer. He enjoys all the activities we perform, everything that is happening in this world. But He is the transcendental enjoyer. So His enjoyment is of a different quality, not like our enjoyment. Material enjoyment, He is not interested. We are interested in material enjoyment. His interest is in spiritual enjoyment, transcendental enjoyment. So, He is Paramatma. And then the third feature of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, the spiritual personality in the spiritual world, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality, ultimate controller, Supreme Controller, Supreme Master, Supreme Enjoyer, Supreme Proprietor, Supreme everything. So that Supreme Personality, Bhagavan, is exclusively described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why the title of the scripture itself is Bhagavata, means in relationship, topics in connection with Bhagavan. That's called Bhagavata. And that also, all the Puranas are in connection with Bhagavan. Especially the Smriti Shastra are particularly describing the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. In the original Vedas also, there is description of the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Tad Vishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha Diviva Chakshuratatam Tad Vipraso Vipanyavo Jagrvagasa Samindate Vishnoryat Paramam Padam. Sometimes Mayavadis, who are impersonalists, they think, Vedas, there is no description of personal feature of the Absolute Truth. It's directly there in the Rig Samhita, Rig Veda. It's there. What I quoted. Tad Vishno Paramam Padam. But their interpretation is what kills, or spoils the understanding, their understanding of the Vedas. Because they start with the false theory that the Absolute Truth is impersonal. Therefore, they interpret Vishnu to mean the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth, impersonal Brahman. So even if the Absolute Truth is described in the Puranas and in the Vedas and in the Upanishads, Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat, Ishopanishad, the first Upanishad. So even in Ishopanishad, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Isha. And our Acharyas, Kanakadasa, Purandaradasa, they have also glorified the Supreme Personality, Krishna, Keshava, as Isha. So the same Isha is used in the Ishopanishad to describe the personality of Godhead. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Everything that is created in this material world belongs and is controlled and owned by the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, Keshava, Narayana. So that Isha refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this personal feature. But the Mayavadis, they take the meaning of Isha as impersonal Brahman. So the Bhagavatam directly describes the Absolute Truth as Bhagavan, Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And Shukadev Goswami goes into details of description of Bhagavan, his names, his forms, his activities, his paraphernalia, his devotees, his relationships. Everything he describes in great detail, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Even though The various incarnations of the Supreme Lord are described in various Puranas. But in the Bhagavatam, especially the detailed description of the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Why do I say detailed description of the personality of God? Krishna, because the maximum number of chapters is there in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is 12 cantos. So maximum number of chapters are in the 10th canto. 90 chapters, 90. The biggest canto among the 12 cantos. Because detailed description of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Detailed description. Now, Parikshit is a pure devotee of Krishna. So is Shukadeva Goswami. So is Vyasadeva. Even though Parikshit is inquiring about God, about the Supreme Absolute Truth. And Bhagavatam describes the Supreme Absolute Truth. Jivasya tattva jignasa. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yadjnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. But still, the emphasis is on describing the personal feature, the Bhagavan feature. And the personal feature, there's so many forms of God, personal forms, so many incarnations. As personality of Godhead, He is present in the spiritual world in His various forms, as Narayana, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Krishna, Balaram, Ramachandra, Narasimha, Vamana, so many forms. He is present in the spiritual world as the personality of Godhead. But sometimes, occasionally, He comes down to our material world in His original spiritual form. In His original spiritual form. So the Mayavadis think that the absolute truth in the spiritual realm is impersonal Brahman. Spiritual world means for them impersonal Brahman. But the absolute truth in the spiritual world is present in two features. Impersonal Brahman and Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Two features. So, the spiritual world, there are two divisions of the spiritual world. The spiritual sky, which is actually also called as the Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual effulgence coming out of the body, transcendental body of Krishna. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam. Unlimited effulgence, unlimited light, spiritual light, unlimited energy, spiritual energy. That Brahma Jyoti, that is the impersonal Brahman feature of the absolute truth in the spiritual world. Brahma Jyoti. Beyond the Brahma Jyoti, from our perspective, from the material world, beyond the Brahma Jyoti, or within the Brahma Jyoti, there are innumerable spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Loka. And they are all spiritual in constitution. In those spiritual planets, there reside the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His various forms as Narayana, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Keshava, Madhava, so many forms. And he is surrounded, he is always with his devotees, pure devotees, the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets. Lord and his devotees. And his devotees are in so many different forms. They are in the form of cows, they are in the form of calves, they are in the form of peacocks, they are in the form of birds, they are in the form of humans, like Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, cowherd boys, cowherd girls, Lakshmi Devi, Radharani, Rukmini, Queen Rukmini, all of them are devotees of the Supreme Lord. Lakshmi Devi is the devotee in the Lord's form as Narayana, Lakshmi Narayana. We worship Lakshmi Narayana. Vaishnavas always worship the Lord with his internal potency in the form of Lakshmi along with Narayana. Or Sita Devi along with Lord Ramachandra, Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayana. Or Radha along with Krishna, Radha Krishna. So, the Lord and his pure devotees, the Supreme Lord Bhagavan and his pure devotees are always in the Vaikuntha lokas, in the spiritual world consisting of the spiritual planets. And in the Brahma Jyoti are innumerable living entities in their impersonal feature as tiny spirit soul. Their spiritual form, undeveloped state. Just like a child in the mother's womb, when the parents conceive a child, the child is present as the embryo. Embryo. Embryo means the secretions of the father and mother combine and a soul enters into that combination of secretions called the embryo itself as spirit soul enters. But when the soul enters, then there is life inside the mother's womb. Till the soul enters, the secretions are simply some secretions. So many secretions inside the body. So like any other secretion. But when the secretions combine and the parents conceive a child, that is when the soul enters the combination of the secretions and the parents are said to have conceived a child. A child is taken birth. His soul has taken birth inside the mother's womb. Then there is life. There are life symptoms. What are the life symptoms? Growth. Embryo begins to grow, develop. Of course, that development is the development of the material body, the gross body. But still, like that, in the spiritual sky, there are the liberated souls whose desire was to get liberation of the impersonal type, impersonal variety of liberation, called Sayujya Mukti. In general, it is called as Mukti or Moksha in the scriptures, but specifically to distinguish that personal liberation from impersonal liberation. So Sayujya Mukti, you would have heard this many times. Liberation means to merge into Brahman, to become one with God, to merge into God, existence of God. So that type of liberation, those who desire and deserve, qualify, they are situated as particles of light, spiritual light in the Brahma Jyoti. They only experience the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. And of course, they have their realization and experience of themselves being of the same quality as the Supreme. The Supreme is Spirit Soul. I am also Spirit Soul. And what is your identity? I am God. This is their understanding of their identity. Who are you? I am God. So can you describe yourself as God? No, I can't describe. Nirvachaniya. Shankaracharya. Sripad Shankaracharya describes the impersonal feature of the absolute truth as nirvachaniya. He is describing the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. But the Mayavadis, some of his followers, they interpret that description of Shankaracharya of the absolute truth as, what is description of me, myself. Why? Because their theory is, I am God. But that's just the theory. The fact is, we are not God. We are an insignificant, very tiny part of God. And God Himself has got His identity as a supreme person, unlimited person. And we have our identity as a tiny person. So we are persons, God is also person. We are spiritual persons, God is also spiritual person. But we are very tiny, limited personalities, and God is unlimited personality. So He has unlimited power, we have very little power. He has unlimited form in terms of the size of the form. Our form is very limited, very tiny. He has unlimited wealth. We have wealth. Very limited. So like this, there are similarities and differences between ourself as the Spirit Soul and the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Supreme Spirit Soul, Supreme Person. So Bhagavatam particularly describes the differences in our feature or identity as a person, spiritual personality, and the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, God, Krishna, Absolute Truth, Narayana, as the Supreme Personality. The differences are very clearly highlighted in the Bhagavatam. And in highlighting this, the author Vyasadeva, the speaker Shukadeva Goswami, describe in detail the personality of God at Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And he makes a mention of Krishna in every canto of Bhagavatam. But the detailed description of Krishna is in the 10th canto. Now we are in the 7th chapter. The title of the 7th chapter is The Killing of the Demon, Trinavarta. So Shukadeva Goswami, on the request of Parikshit Maharaj, is describing the various pastimes of Krishna. It's the request of Parikshit Maharaj. The opening verses of this chapter, the 1st and 2nd chapter. After Parikshit heard the killing of the demon Putana by Krishna as a small baby, 10-day-old baby on the lap of his mother, killed that huge demoness Putana. It is certainly wonderful that a small child on the lap of his mother could kill such a big demon. The Prabhupada says in the purport to today's verse that a child sitting on the lap of his mother was able to kill the gigantic Putana is extremely wonderful for the inhabitants of this planet. That is never before happened and never again will happen, at least in the duration of this universe. Because Krishna comes to this universe once in a day of Brahma. And Krishna appears on the earth planet in this universe. He can appear on any planet he desires to, but he chooses to appear on the earth planet. And his appearance as Krishna is very special because he appears in his original form as Krishna in the spiritual world, even though when he appears as Narasimha, he appears in his original spiritual form also as Narasimha, but the form for our eyes does not resemble the form of Narasimha in the spiritual world. The form of Narasimha in the spiritual world is four-handed form of Narayana. The form of Narasimha in the material world is the form of half man, half lion. So the scriptures clarify, he is neither lion nor man nor combination of half man, half lion. No. He is the transcendental personality of Godhead, Narayana. And he has appeared in his original form as Narayana. Because in the spiritual world, Narasimha is there, the spiritual world. That Narasimha has come to this world. As what? As Narasimha, as a supreme person. But his form doesn't resemble. There's no resemblance of the form. That is called his Leela, his pastime. His pastime. So he appears in any form he likes to appear for his own purposes, for his own reasons. But when he comes as Krishna, he appears in his original form as Krishna in the spiritual world, but he appears in a form which is identical with his form in the spiritual world. It means he appears as a small baby, a child of Mother Yashoda. In the spiritual world also, he is present as a child of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. He plays as his pastime with the cowherd boys in this material world when he performs his Leela. In the spiritual world also he is engaged in performing his pastimes, playing with the cowherd boys. That is a speciality or the uniqueness of the Lord's appearance as Krishna. Try to understand this point. Very, very important point I'm telling you. Why do you say, Govindam Adi Purusham? We don't say that. It's one of the prayers offered by Brahma to Krishna. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Supreme Personality of God is called Purusha. Arjuna says that. Krishna, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Purusham. You are the Supreme Person. You are the Supreme Brahman. You are the Supreme Pure. So, as Narasimha, he is Purusha, the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Pure. As Krishna also, he is the Supreme Pure, Supreme Brahman. But the difference is, in his form as Narasimha, in his appearance as Narasimha, there is no resemblance between his form in the spiritual world and the form in the material world. There's no resemblance. And in his form as Krishna, there is resemblance. And what is that kind of resemblance? Identical in every respect. Like in his form as Vishnu, he resembles the form of Narayana, but not identical with Narayana in every respect. What's the difference between Vishnu and Narayana? Vishnu, in the spiritual world, is always visible. Narayana is always visible in the spiritual world. Narayana, when he incarnates as Vishnu in this material world, he is sometimes visible, most of the time he is not visible. Though he is always present, he is eternally present in the material world. Eternally present. But he is not visible always. Sometimes he becomes visible. And as Narasimha, of course, he is only sometimes visible. But that form of Narasimha itself does not in any way match the form of Narasimha in the spiritual world. No. No resemblance at all. No resemblance at all. Except for the pure devotees of Narasimha. We sing one prayer to Narasimha every day. Ito Narasimho parato Narasimho yato yato yami tato Narasimho baher Narasimho hridaye Narasimho Narasimha madim sharanam prapadye. So this prayer to Narasimha is offered by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is seeing Narasimha within his heart, externally also. So before the appearance of Narasimha, to protect Prahlad Maharaj, he was always present in Prahlad's heart. He is always present. So Prahlad was able to see Narasimha in his heart, even before he appeared. So therefore, when he appeared as Narasimha, Prahlad Maharaj was not bewildered. Who is this personality? Prahlad Maharaj is understanding, my Lord, who's in my heart, has appeared externally also to protect me. Baher Narasimha, Hridaye Narasimha. Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha. When Hiranyakashipu challenged Prahlad, "Where is your God?" Prahlad said, "He's everywhere." "Is he in this pillar?" "Yes." Struck the pillar. And suddenly, Hiranyakashipu, he thought this pillar is made of stone. Where is God in this pillar? So he struck that pillar and out came Narsimha. And Hiranyakashipu is completely bewildered. What's happening? Whereas Prahlad Maharaj, he knows Narsimha is everywhere because he is present in his feature as Paramatma in the heart of everybody, including Hiranyakashipu's heart. He is present in his form, Paramatma, inside every material atom, inside every atom of that pillar. What to speak of the pillar? He is present there as Paramatma. And that Paramatma is in every respect identical or non-different from Narsimha, from the absolute truth, from God, identical with God, identical with Bhagavan, identical with Brahma Jyoti. See, this is what is difficult to understand for many people. Last point, I'll close after this. That God is one, God is the absolute truth, God is everything, God is the only truth, only person in existence, only reality. But God is actually present as the Supreme Person, as the Super Soul, and as Brahman. Three distinct features he is present as God, as the absolute truth. So Bhagavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ekameva Advitiya is only one person. Whereas we, the living beings, Jivatma, we are many. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. God is one person, only one person. Then what about Narsimha, Vamana, Narayana, Krishna, Rama, Vishnu, Paramatma? They are all only one Supreme Lord. And who is that original Supreme Lord? One person, that is Krishna. He expands himself into many, many forms in the spiritual world, in the material world. Everywhere he expands. So he himself becomes, he does not become, he is always eternally Narayana, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vamana, Narsimha in the spiritual world. And he sometimes appears in this material world, we say incarnation, avatara. He comes down. Avatara means he descends. He comes from the spiritual world to the material world. Now when he comes from the spiritual world to the material world, it doesn't mean the spiritual world is vacant. He's absent. No. He's always in the spiritual world. He also comes to this world by expanding himself. By expanding himself. And he expands himself as Narayana in the spiritual world. He expands himself as incarnations appearing in this material world. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Vamana, Parashurama, etc., etc. So many incarnations. Unlimited incarnations. In the first canto, third chapter of the Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami is listing some of the incarnations. And he concludes, after listing 22 incarnations, he concludes by telling, actually the number of incarnations of the Supreme Lord in this material world, if you want to know the number, how many? So he says, the number of incarnations are as many as there are waves in the ocean. How many waves are there in the ocean? Cannot count. Continuously waves are coming. And the ocean will be there for the entire duration of the day of Brahma, at least on this earth planet. Entire duration of the day of Brahma, 4 billion years, the ocean will be there. We will come and go, living entities. Ocean will be there. Entire day of Brahma. In our calculation, it is 4 billion years. So waves continuously coming. For 4 billion years, waves are coming. Can anybody count how many waves? Nobody can count. And by the way, it's not just one ocean. Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Saptasagara, 7 oceans are there, correct? In each ocean, continuously waves are coming. So which means to say, we cannot count the number of incarnations of the Supreme Lord in this material world who appear in one day of Brahma. Krishna appears only once in a day of Brahma. And he comes in his original form, resembling, not resembling, in his original form as Krishna, the way he appears in the spiritual world, he looks like in the spiritual world, same form. But his activities in the material world are of 2 categories. Some activities are identical to his activities in the spiritual world, like rasa dance. Krishna performs rasa dance in the spiritual world. He also performs rasa dance in the material world. He plays with his cowherd boyfriends in the spiritual world. He also plays with his cowherd boyfriends in the material world. He goes for cowherding in the spiritual world. He goes for cowherding in the material world also. But the pastimes of killing demons only in the material world. There are no demons in the spiritual world. So no pastimes of killing demons in the spiritual world. So Srila Jiva Goswami describes this in a purport that he has written to Brahma Samhita, the scripture called Brahma Samhita, which Brahma glorifies Krishna as the Adi Purusha, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. In that he says, in the material world, the Supreme Lord has got 2 kinds of pastimes. The pastimes which he performs in the spiritual world, interacting with his devotees, accepting their devotional service, and reciprocating with them according to their service, blessing them, accepting the food that they offer, giving them the remnants of whatever he has accepted as prasadam. All that goes on in the spiritual world and the material world. But killing demons, his birth pastimes, only in the material world. In the spiritual world, no birth, no death, nothing. No disappearance, nothing. He's always there. So, Narsimha, he comes out of a pillar. Krishna, he comes as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Vamana, he appears as the son of Kashyapa and Aditi in the heavenly planets. Vamana appeared in the heavenly planets, Swargaloka. So, these pastimes, birth pastimes, pastimes of killing demons are exclusive to the material world. They are not there. These pastimes are not there in the spiritual world. So the material world is a very special place. We have got so many varieties of pastime they don't have in the spiritual world. Any pastime of Krishna taking birth, Krishna killing demons, not there in the spiritual world. Of course, he has got varieties of pastimes, even in performing rasa dance. It's not the same rasa dance he does every day. No. Spiritual world, there is variety every moment. Katha ganam natyam gamanamapi vamshi priyasakhi. Krishna is constantly playing on his flute in the spiritual world. And every time he plays on the flute, it's a different combination of the notes. Sarigama padani sa, sarigama padani, saptaswara. The combinations are unlimited combinations. In the material world, the musicologists, the Gandharva Shastra, they identify 72 Melakarta ragas, and then there are Janya ragas. But in the spiritual world, no count of the number of ragas. Nobody even bothers what raga it is. Whatever Krishna plays is ever new. He never repeats. Whatever Radharani cooks, she cooks for Krishna every day. Whatever she cooks will always be a new preparation. Krishna, what have you made, Radharani, today? Oh, I made something different. And life is eternal in the spiritual world. So eternally she is making different varieties. Eternally Krishna plays on his flute different kinds of notes, music. So everything in the spiritual world is full of variety. Eternal varieties. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any announcements are there? Some announcements, please wait. Okay. So we are in the month of July, but I am reading some announcements about upcoming festivals in the month of August. Balram Jayanti we are celebrating on 9th August. Why am I reading now? I can read it later, no? No, preparations are beginning now. Already begun. Not at the beginning today. No, they're already begun. Preparations, because these are very, very big festivals. Especially Janmashtami. Janmashtami is the biggest festival we celebrate. So Balram Jayanti we are celebrating on 9th August. Grand Abhishekam to Lord Balaram, followed by dinner prasadam for all in the evening on 9th August, Friday. Janmashtami we are celebrating on 2 days, 15th and 16th of August. And there will be a lot of programs on these 2 days, from morning, early morning to late night. And Vyas Puja of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada appeared on the day after Janmashtami. So on the 17th of August, we are celebrating Vyas Puja of Srila Prabhupada. We worship him as the representative of Vyasadeva. That's called Vyas Puja. And the program will be 6 p.m. onwards till about 9 p.m. So we invite you to participate in all these festivals. Of course, you always know that. But we also want you to register your names as volunteers for any of these festivals that you can do some volunteering service. Hare Krishna.